earlier, and it affected over 2 million people around the world. But unless you're an epidemiologist or a gamer, you might not have heard of it, because it took place in an online video game called World of Warcraft. Do people play Warcraft here? In World of Warcraft, for the rest of you, millions of people, now it's something like 17 million people, all navigate the same playable world. It's a world so big it contains actual continents. But if you started to walk, it would take you hours to get across. There are capital cities and different regions. It's massive, massive. And on September 13th, 2005, a new dungeon was introduced. You can play dungeons, go in, defeat things. And this one was mostly for very strong, high-level players, accomplished players. You couldn't go in there if you were a noob, or a newbie, as it were. And in this dungeon, players could fight a demigod called Hakar the Soul Flayer. Yes. And Hakar's main technique was to drain your blood while you were fighting, and then use it to get better, so it was effectively immortal. It was a very hard dungeon. And now the details are complicated, but the dungeon contained a sickness. Inside there was a kind of affliction called corrupted blood, and it was contagious. So players could catch it from one another. But in theory, there was no way for it to spread outside the dungeon. It was just something that was supposed to happen there. Because anyone who made it that far into this very complicated dungeon, anyone who made it that far was already a pretty strong, high-level character with a lot of points, so pretty quickly they would just recover from it. It wouldn't hurt them that badly. They'd recover. Plus, there was healers, your friends would be there, they would help you recover, they'd cast good spells. And so by the time these players defeated Hakar the Soul Flayer and made their way out of the dungeon and back into the wider world, they were fine. They were no longer contagious. It was not communicable. There was no way for corrupted blood to spread outside, because that would be a disaster, wouldn't it? Except for one thing. There was a bug in the code, and their pets caught it. You can have pets, it's really cool. You can have your lion, you can have a wolf, a boar, a dragon. I don't think they're called dragons, but you can have a pet, and their pets caught it. And so when these pets got back to the capital city, even in places where everyone was supposed to be safe, immune to any attacks, just hanging out with their friends, when they would summon their pet wolf or their pet lion, and the animal appeared at their side, effectively doing a digital version of coughing on everyone, suddenly, all the people around them were stricken with corrupted blood, with no explanation. The weakest players were killed instantly, while the stronger players who survived and had no idea what was going on ran away, spreading it to everyone they came into contact with, which is exactly how epidemics work. And by the end of the day, the major cities in World of Warcraft were littered with skeletons. And before I show you these pictures, there's 3 slides. I want you to know that at the time, people did think this was very funny. Okay? So there's 3 slides. Leslie? So those are skeletons in an inn. Just a pile of skeletons. Everyone's dead. Next slide. That's a bridge, and if you can't see because it's far away, it's just a bridge completely clogged with skeletons. There's only one person still standing in the next slide. That's the bottom of a hillside. The skeletons have all rolled down into a pile. So imagine if you were working at this video game company and realized that you had accidentally killed every single player in the game. Wow. So you would think that Blizzard Entertainment, the maker of the game, would just rewrite some code hastily and fix it as soon as they found out. They couldn't. Lead engineer John Cash later recalled, quote, "It was really scary. We didn't know why it was happening." And within the game, of course, players were talking in the forums to one another, and it was unclear whether or not this was intentional Like this was some new challenge that the makers had rolled out. But it quickly became clear that that was not the case, because people would resurrect. Of course, dying in a video game is not as serious as dying in real life. They would heal themselves, they would resurrect, take 3 steps, and die again. And the game became unplayable for almost everyone. They couldn't fix it. The epidemic lasted a month. And it provided epidemiologists, real-world scientists, with a rare computer model of how actual humans behave during a prolonged outbreak. Yes, if you've ever gone to work sick, even though you knew you shouldn't because you couldn't afford the time off, you will understand that a sizable percentage of the population in World of Warcraft still effectively tried to go to work the next day. They went to places like the bank because they had work to do, even if it meant infecting everyone around them. And as it got worse, the cities began to empty of players who were fleeing into the countryside to save themselves. They would resurrect and say, oh my gosh, I have to get out of here, and run away. Which meant that they took the sickness with them, all along common travel routes. Roadblocks and quarantines were established, but one after another they were breached. 15 years later, one player who participated in the quarantine of Ironforge, which is a capital city, this player remembered, quote, we only managed to hold the line for 2 hours. We ended up driven all the way back. They tried so hard. Healers worked together in groups, in bands, to cure lower-level players trying to stave this off, even as it became clear that they could not keep up. They had checkpoints at the gates to the cities trying to heal people as they were coming in. It didn't work. Meanwhile, experienced warlocks who could not heal did their part by leading groups of new, inexperienced players to safety in the wilderness. In the forums, thousands of players strategized how to contain the sickness and rebuild a functioning world, a society where the basic services are up and running. But throughout it all, throughout that whole month, a sizable number, like a not insignificant number, of powerful, high-level players went around deliberately infecting and killing the weak to laugh at them, and kept spreading it through the city. On message boards today, even today, those who were there at the time still remind others about this major factor in how the plague spread, trying to preserve what they see as the real history of the event, describing that behavior with words like evil and bioterrorism, and refusing to let it be forgotten. The healers and the reapers. Which one of them represents human nature? Which one of those contingents represents humans doing what it is they're meant to do, really? In short, the full spectrum of human behavior played out during that moment. Now, I don't actually play World of Warcraft. I found out about this because a dictionary website had it as their This Day in History one year, on September 13th, which might make this the only major historical event to happen in a video game, in the world of the game, to make the leap into being so huge that there's an actual historical event in the real world. I love this story. I became fascinated with it because even though it happened in this virtual space, the story of how people tried to figure out what was going on, to figure out what to do, and how to recover, it's so human. It's so very human. And it seems to me that somehow humans always try to figure things out. Even when part of the population is actively working against progress. Even when the odds seem impossible and the skeletons are piling up. Even when nothing seems to be working the way it's supposed to. Humans always try. And what was it like to be there during corrupted blood? 14 years later, one player wrote, quote, "I remember this so clearly. The corpses littering Duratar all the way to Thunder Bluff. Death was everywhere except the wilderness. Luckily, I was maxed out and I tried to help as much as possible. I actually felt like a doctor. And I loved playing priest. Ah, the good old days of World of Warcraft, with the best community ever. Those were the days." Isn't that beautiful? Those were the days? Really? We're knee deep in skeletons. The good old days with the best community ever. Years later, the video game company Blizzard Entertainment, their chief of staff, Shane DeVere, said in an interview that he wouldn't have actually handled it any differently. Quote, "It actually helped us create things that are better for the future. If that had never happened, we would have never had the wherewithal to create some of the cool events we have now. It was a good part of our history," he said, because the design teams learned so much. In 2017, another contagious bug took hold in World of Warcraft and was contained within 24 hours. And today, epidemiologists working on the coronavirus are re-examining how video game quarantines failed during corrupted blood and what strategies worked. Because some of those epidemiologists were playing the game in 2001. Social media users in China discussing the quarantines now have said things like, "We did this in 2005. You think it's going to work now?" But humans always try. Humans on the whole are fantastically resilient and creative and thoughtful. Oh my gosh, we're so thoughtful and creative, especially when it comes to our survival, or the survival of what we care about. And I think this is especially important to remember in an era when our government is so rigid, authoritarian, and damaging. Because whether you're in World of Warcraft or in real life, the vast majority of people cooperate with one another to try to figure out what can be salvaged, to find workarounds when old systems aren't working. The vast majority of people keep trying. In 1258, pre-video games, the Mongols invaded the region now known as Iraq, and they burned the libraries and supposedly threw so many books in the river that the Tigris ran black with ink. Oh my gosh, priceless, priceless human knowledge. Now, Aliyah Muhammad Bakr heard that story as a child in the present day and was horrified. And so in 2003, when Bakr was working as a librarian at the Central Library in Basra, Iraq, and the city was invaded, she managed to sneak 70% of the library over the back wall, over 30,000 books, into the basement of a restaurant before the library was destroyed. And when the Iraqi National Archives were bombed with their thousands of years of documents and clay tablets, Dr. Saad Iskander saved everything he could, armloads of artifacts, at times storing precious documents in abandoned refrigerators because they're secure. And it's not that there wasn't damage, destruction, and heartbreaking losses of cultural artifacts. It's true, there were. But please know that everywhere in Iraq, the teachers, the museum curators, the librarians, the scholars, the town hall employees, the clerks were grabbing everything they could off the shelves as they fled. Just like the librarians everywhere in both world wars, just like the botanists who guarded the seed vaults during the siege of Leningrad, when hungry people would have eaten all the seeds, all the wheat, They stood guard so the crops could be replanted after the famine. Just like the anthropologists who recorded the stories of elderly, formerly enslaved African Americans before they died. Destruction in this world, malicious human destruction, it's real. It is so real. So real that we would be tempted to assume that that's human nature, that that's the fundamental state of the human soul. That our nature is to compete and to conquer, that our inborn tendency is to carry the corrupted blood plague to weaker players and laugh at them when they fall. But wherever there has been destruction in human history, there have been determined, caring humans sifting through the rubble with their neighbors. That's human nature. That is who I choose to believe we are. One of the greatest things I have faith in is not the survival of every museum or every book, every artifact of human history, not even the survival of every human to old age. But that in the worst of times, even the worst of times, the best of us is present and fighting for good, always, in every era of human history. And I do believe that in the long run, love wins. Love will win the war. But let me tell you, when love loses the battles and skirmishes along the way, it can be so hard to take comfort in the eventualities. So hard. And so instead, where I have found comfort is not that love will win eventually, although I do believe it's true, but that love is present always. Not that bad things don't happen or will somehow cease happening permanently, but that even the bad things, the best people will go walking back in through the city gates. And don't think that the scale of evil acts in this world correlates, even slightly, to the number of people who support them. It's not close. A high-ranking player can wipe out every low-ranking newbie in the Kingdom of Azeroth and get away with it. It happened in 05. Great evil can result from the concentrated power of just a few people wielding disproportionate results. Don't think that that's the state of the human soul writ large. It isn't. Because absolutely zero people I've met think that insulin should be $500 a vial. Zero. Zero people I've met in person think that corporations are people and should totally have a vote. Zero people I've met think that they should have to sell their house to pay for chemotherapy, and that's fair. Remember, disproportionate evil is done by a disproportionately small number of bad actors, and that does not mean that that's the state of our world. I want to be clear that the goodness of our neighbors, which I believe in, is no substitute for just laws. I have great faith in the concerted efforts of community, of humanity, but even I acknowledge that there is no amount of grassroots cooperation that would reduce as much human suffering as implementing single-payer health care. Or backing up the Voter Rights Act, or passing the Equal Rights Amendment, legalizing marijuana nationally, and then letting a ton of black people out of jail. Raising the national minimum wage so people aren't living in wage slavery and deciding between feeding their kids or buying their medicine. Making financial reparation to African Americans. Instating rent control and ensuring that everyone has a fair place to live. Enshrining the rights of queer people to exist and love. And signing the Paris Agreement for a start. Just laws make a huge difference. Because even in the world of Warcraft, even there, do you know what finally ended the pandemic? It wasn't people cooperating on message boards. After a month of this going on, the powers that be, Blizzard Entertainment, rewrote the code and reset the servers. They reset the servers. We need to reset the server in this country. pandemic rages. Believing in survival, celebrating survival, cheering for who and what we want to save, doesn't mean that we're not paying attention to what's being lost. It doesn't mean we haven't noticed that the endowment for the humanities is being gutted, for instance. It's a tragedy. What it means is that even in the face of loss and suffering, we care more than ever about human life and dignity. We give a damn about what is good and right and beautiful, and we will celebrate it. We will celebrate survival. If anything, living in a perilous world means that we must celebrate what we can, whenever we can, now more than ever. Even as we mourn what is burned, we grab what we can off the shelves. And in the meantime, we do what we can to help. In the meantime, we come to church on Sunday. We raise our children. In the meantime, we sing our favorite songs, sing our favorite poems, we make our favorite recipes. In the meantime, we protest and march. And we fight for better laws. Remembering love is present, always. And whether or not love wins in any of our lifetimes, love will be our legacy. Because on the message boards I've read, 15 years later, many Warcraft players have talked about how they were there, how they healed strangers at the gates of Ironforge. And I've seen 0 people brag about the weaker player station. Because when the servers get reset, not everything will remain. But the parts that do are those we cared to save.